warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello guys, let me introduce myself first. Okay, let me introduce myself first. I'm Yumi Nurulhuda Fitri, a student of English Department, batch 2019 from Rio University. Here, I'm going to present you about my proposal, that is, the implementation of vocabulary for elementary school students. Okay, without any further ado, let's go to the presentation. Okay, before that, is my screen can be seen clearly? I think, yeah.
I cannot see it.
Oh, okay. Maybe we need several minutes. How about now?
Not yet.
Not yet. How about now?
Yes, I can see it clearly.
Okay, this is my proposal presentation, that is the implementation of flashcard in vocabulary learning for elementary school. In this PowerPoint, I have three fields. The first is introduction, the second is theoretical study and literature review, and the last is research method. And I also put bibliography inside my presentation. Okay, let's go to the first field, that is introductions. For the first is about 1.2, that is background. Many investigators have found that learning vocabulary needs some strategies and conditions. Learners should obtain the strategy that fits with their own language. Using flashcard is one of the best methods for teachers to teach vocabulary learning because teachers can improve the unique style in their explanation via flashcard. Next, 1.3 Statement of Problem. The first is how to make an interesting flashcard to elementary school students. The second, why there are still a lot of teachers who don't use flashcard as the alternative in teaching vocabulary. And the last is what kind of vocabulary that can be taught via flashcard. Okay, those statement problem will be answered in my next slide. Okay, the next is 1.4, that is objective of the study. The first is making a colorful and informative flashcard. The second is bad assumption about flashcard. Is it useful or not in learning vocabulary? And the last is information in the flashcard. We have to put simple information, but also informative for students. The next is 1.5, that is significance of the study. The first is researcher. By this investigation, the researcher knows the best formula of teaching vocabulary. The second is student. The use of flashcard in vocabulary learning can help students to boost their vocabulary skill. Students will have more motivation in learning vocabulary. The last is teacher, especially English teacher who teach vocabulary. This study will be really helpful for English teacher, because teacher will know the new formula in teaching vocabulary. The next is 1.6, that is scope of the study. The obstacle in this investigation is students still find hard in studying vocabulary. Both of teacher and student should know what is the best method for learning vocabulary. And here, I give you flashcard as the problem solving in learning vocabulary. 1.7, that is hypothesis. Hypotheses in this paper are: the first is the null hypothesis. It is useless to have flashcard in learning vocabulary for elementary school students. And the second, the alternative hypothesis, or HA. It is useful to have it is useful to have flashcard in learning vocabulary for elementary school students. The second field is about literature review and theoretical study. Here, for 2.2, I have theoretical study. The first is flashcard. As you can see on my screen, I have definition and benefits of flashcard. Definition of flashcard. Flashcard is a tool that is often used in studying teaching activity as a media learning. The next is benefits of flashcard. The first is gaining language ability. The second is boosting the ability in composing of lesson stories. The third is useful as memorizing aid and analyzing problem. And the fourth is filling more vocabulary because a flashcard has vocabulary inside it. The next is motivation. I have definition and the importance of motivation for students. The importance motivation for students is lack of motivation to study can have a significant impact on students' grade. However, it is not the only threat. Students are much less likely to perform their full potential and miss important aspect of a subject. If students don't have motivation to learn, it will give bad impact for them. For 2.3, that is literature review. A literature review is a piece of academic writing that demonstrates knowledge and understanding of the academic literature on a particular topic in context. In this paper, I have two kinds of literature review that are: the first is the using of flashcard for vocabulary learning in elementary school students, and the second is the impact of flashcard for vocabulary learning in elementary school stage. Okay, we come to the first literature review, that is the using of flashcard for vocabulary learning in elementary school students. Here I put about 5 literature review. You can see the title, the author, and university on the screen. The next is 2.5, that is the impact of flashcard for vocabulary learning in elementary school stage young learner. Here I have one literature review, that is development of an inquiry basic science learning material using flashcard to reduce misconception of elementary school students. Author Intan Ika Ashabul Maimanah, Suryati, and Nadi Suprapto. Okay, we come to the third field, that is research method. So what is research method? Research method and procedures according to Sugiono is research method means the scientific way to get data with the purpose of certain usability data. In this paper, writer uses pre-test and post-test design. For 3.2 research design, in this research, the writer used experimental research design with direct experimental research design. For your information, there are some classification of true experimental research design. Such, the first is the post-test only control group design, the second, the post-test and pre-test group design, and the third is Solomon group design. For 3.3, place and time of research. This research fully applied via online due to the COVID-19 issues. The time to sum the data is about from 15 November up to 5 December, and Google Form is the platform to collect the data. For 3.4, population and sample. The population of this research is students from 0.03 to elementary school Tembilahan, with the range class is about from class 4, 5, and 6. So, in terminology, population can be described as a collection of individuals, institutions, objects, and so on, which are complete with general characteristics that are of interest to a researcher to research. The second is sample. Sample is a group in research study in which information is obtained. Okay, for 3.5, there is data collecting procedure. In collecting data, vocabulary test was required. The sample of students are asked to memorize vocabularies from 20 up to 30. The first is without flashcard, and after that, the test was conducted with flashcard. The test was given to permit the students to assess the effect of experimentation and to know how deep the students' comprehension in about vocabulary. Also, this test is also to prove how far students can understand what they have learned in vocabulary learning. The next is instruments of research. In this paper, the writer used experiment as instrument of research. The researcher required instruments are questionnaire, reading comprehension, and vocabulary mastery. This research is used to compare between flashcard material is given and after material flashcard is given. Okay, for 3.8 is about data analysis procedure. In this research, quantitative approach is used to analyze the data. First, the researcher researched the vocabulary mastery for each class, like I mentioned before, from class 4, 5, and 6 in 0, 3, 2 elementary school. After that, the researcher gives score based on their vocabulary skill. And then, after the scores are accepted, the researcher input the score at the distributed table. And then researcher give the questionnaire about learning vocabulary. And after that, post-pretest and post-test are spread. Next, when the result of pretest has gone over, the researcher give vocabulary mastery material through via flashcard, and after that, the post-test is handed. Thus, post-test and pretest is used to compare students' vocabulary mastery. Before material flashcard is given and after material flashcard is given. Okay, the next, I have data scale in testing students' vocabulary mastery. The first is strongly agree, the second is agree, the third is neutral, the fourth is disagree, and the fifth is strongly disagree. Okay, the next is bibliography. In this research, I have more than 10 sources from journal, books, and so on. You can see my sources in my screen. Okay, I think that's all my presentation. If you guys have question, you can raise your hand or mention your name and unmute your microphone. Thank you. Okay, Layla, go on to your question.
Yes. Can you hear my voice clearly?
Sure.
Okay, that was pretty interesting topic that you've choose. And my question is, what is the background of your research? The reason why you choose this topic in your research? Thanks.
Thank you, Layla, for asking the question. Okay, so let me answer directly. The background of my research is the fact that students in elementary school young old stage are lack in vocabulary mastery. It is so sad because vocabulary is the basic of learning English. Thus, the teacher seems to have traditional way to teach English. Both of teacher and student have the same problem field. That's why I bring flashcard method as a solution to increase students' vocabulary mastery. Okay, the next question. Okay, from Alfiana. Go on to your question.
Okay, check. Okay, Yumi, I want to ask you about what are the obstacles that you find in making this proposal, Yumi?
Okay, because thank you, Alfiana, for asking me. Because all procedures are required via online, it is rather hard for me to find the proper literature review. Besides, the subject of my research are elementary school students. I need to have tricky approach to be engaged with them. Is it clear, Laila and Elviana?
Yes, that was very clear.
Okay.
Okay, I will give a conclusion. Final segment seminar, the implementation of flashcard in vocabulary learning for elementary school students is a problem solving in teaching and learning vocabulary because vocabulary is the basic knowledge in English learning. So the best method is needed to achieve vocabulary mastery with flashcard and informative design. I hope that students and teachers are more closer in making a good class atmosphere. Thank you.
Okay, that's all my presentation. I hope that all of you guys can get the benefit from my presentation. Thank you in advance. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.